Okay, so let's start. This ayah is quite long, so let's get started, inshallah. Okay, so Sister Salma, if you'd like to join me for the isti'adha and the basmala. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Yes, I want you to try that one more time. I want you to think about your dal, because it can be lighter when you say dhu. And I want you to think about, now I wasn't looking at you at that time, but it seemed as though for the sheen, your lips may have come out, like you protruded them a bit. So keeping your lips flat will tell the difference in the sound. Let's try that again. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Now remember, because at the moment when you're saying ash-shaytan, your lips are coming out quite a bit. So you're saying ash, right? You're trying to say ash-shay. And then when you're saying pa, the ba part, what's happened? You haven't done this before, so this is the first time you've done it. It's just, I think it's just a slip of the tongue, but you got the wa, right? Remember, straight down, pa, ash-shaytanir rajim.
الشيطان الرجيم.
Yes, mashallah. Did you notice how I could tell
Yes.
you were bringing your lips out less? It sounds a lot better, alhamdulillah. Jazakallahu khairan. And the next part, Sister Humana, if you'd like to join me for the next part, let me just quickly remind you of the ra. Remember what you're doing with it. Your tongue is not going so back because you tend to curl the tongue a lot. So you want it closer to the makhraj of the noon, right? And remember the top side of the tongue is pressing at the top too, not just the very edge, okay? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Yes, much better, much better. Jazakumullahu khairan. Allah bless you.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, we come to the first part here. Now we already have to dive into a discussion with this very first part. There's a few bits that we need to talk about that require some discussion. When we look at this, first of all, I want to talk about this letter ta. Okay, so we're going to talk about the letter, the makhraj of the letter ta today and how we read it. Now, the letter ta actually shares the makhraj or the articulation point. It's articulated from the same place as two other letters. Where's my pen gone? Do a scribble. Okay, there it is. Okay, so it shares its makhraj with the letter ta, with the letter dal, and then we have the letter. All three of these letters are produced from exactly the same place in that they are produced using the tarful lisan. So we use, again, that tip of the tongue. So there's quite a lot of letters that come using this tip of the tongue. Okay, so we use the tip of the tongue. Where is the tip of the tongue going? The tip of the tongue is touching the gums behind the upper two front teeth. So here's my two front incisors. The tip of the tongue is going to touch just behind on the gums like that. Okay, like that. Okay, so you're not actually touching the teeth. Okay, you're just behind the teeth. Okay, so then the question is, how are they sounding different? Well, out of all three of them, the ta sounds significantly different because it's a heavy letter, right? So the dal and the ta are light letters. The ta, on the other hand, has this r ending. And to make it heavy, it's the same thing that we've seen before. It's the lifting of the back of the tongue, the pushing back of it a little bit. So instead of just saying ta, for example, we're saying ta, 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 okay? It's also similar to the letter sad in that it has that extra echoey element on top of the heaviness that it's already got. Okay, so again, that reminder of how do we bring in that echoey, the extra heaviness? How do we say, instead of saying ba, how do we say ba, ba? Remember, it's the direction of the sound of your voice. Where's the direction of the sound going? It's not going like this anymore. Remember, it's the more vertical one. Okay, it's the more vertical direction. So you know where your upper palate is, you're trying to go to the middle of the upper palate, just there. Okay, that's where you're trying to send the sound of your voice. Okay, that's the same for all itbaq letters. And the itbaq letters, for those of you that were already familiar, of course, are sad, bad, ba, and dha. Those are your itbaq letters, the ones that have that extra element of heaviness to them, or that echoey sound that comes with them. So we know now the makhraj of the letter ta. Auntie Nasreen, if you could try this for me, please. Ta.
Ta.
Very good. Again, ta.
Ta.
Not bad, mashallah. Jazakallah khairan. Alhamdulillah. Jazakillahu khairan. Okay, so now we know the makhraj of the ta. We need to also talk about what's going on here, because we can see that we've got the noon and it hasn't got anything on it. So remember we talked about if it hasn't got anything on it, that means there's something going on. It means that there is an originally a sukoon here. So we have a noon sakin, and we've seen noon sakin many times where we have noon sakin and then there's a rule going on, there's something going on when it's not drawn. So again, here we have something going on. Now this isn't something new. It's something that we have learned before, and we learned it very early on when we did ayah number 2. You remember when we learned antahbata, right? We had the ikhfa haqiqi. This is another example of ikhfa haqiqi. So I'm just going to write it here. Ikhfa haqiqi. Haqiqi. Now, in the past, I've mentioned ikhfa haqiqi, but I've said, oh, it's ikhfa haqiqi with a light gunna, right? And because whenever we saw examples of ikhfa haqiqi before, there've been where the noon sakin is followed by a light letter, so like the light ta that we saw, right? When we saw this, we said that we hide, because ikhfa means you're hiding the noon. Remember, we're not touching it with the tip of the tongue. And you got ready for the next letter. So we got ready for the ta in the case of antahbata. With this one, we're following the same concept where, yes, the tip of the tongue is not touching the noon. We're getting ready. We're getting very close to the makhraj of the ta. But now the next letter is heavy. So what's happening is as you're preparing for the ta, your tongue is going into, is getting prepared for, or getting very close to the position of a heavy ta. And so not only is the tip of the tongue, because we know ta is from the tip of the tongue going up, as I explained, behind the upper two incisors. When the tip of the tongue comes up, that's not the only thing that happens when we have the letter ta. For the letter ta to be heavy, the back of the tongue also lifts up, right? So you have this, you have a dip in the middle, but you have the tip of the tongue going up, and then the back of the tongue comes up too. And that's what you want to try and achieve, because as you're preparing for the ta, your tongue needs to get into that position where the back has got ready and the tip of the tongue is close. It's not touching the gums yet, but it's very close. It's in position, ready, so that as soon as we're going to say ta, we're very close that we can dive straight in. Okay. So how are we saying this? We say the ghunna, the noon, the ghunna, the part of where the sound is going through the nasal cavity. This part will sound heavy. In the past, it sounded like we said anta, right? This sound was light. This time it will be heavy because our tongue will be in a heavy position, which will impact the sound of the ghunna. So here we don't say wa in, for example, we say wa in. See, now the sound is changed to in. This sound is quite powerful. It sounds a lot stronger, right? And it's because I'm getting ready for a heavy letter, then the ghunna will sound heavy too. Okay, that's a lot of information I've given you just there. So if this is completely new, remember what I said, take what you can. Don't worry if you don't understand certain bits. Take what you can, okay? Because remember, I'm trying to provide for a variety of abilities in our audience. So here we have وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ. Sister Humera, if you could try that, please.
وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ.
Yes. What I want you to do is before you go into your ikhfa, before you start the ghunna, I want you to say E first. Okay? Wa-I, and then go for your wa-I, iya, wa-in ta'ifatani.
وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ.
Not bad, mashallah, good, alhamdulillah. Once we, let's mention the rules that we see in the rest of the word, and then we'll repeat it, inshallah. We have here the mad alif, okay, it's followed by a hamza. This is your mad wajib muttasil. It's 4 to 5 counts long, and you'll notice that I've that I prolonged that. Okay, so it's 4 or 5 counts long. The ghunna that we read for the ikhfa is also prolonged. Remember, I didn't just say wa in ta, I said wa in ta. So I prolonged that as well. Then I prolonged the ta for the 4 to 5 counts, the mud. And then we have all light letters. So this is quite important because after saying a heavy letter and prolonging it and saying ta, it's very easy to then say ifa da, right? Make the fa and the da that are coming after it heavy. They're not heavy, they're light. So all of the remaining letters are light. Ifatani, ifatani, nice and light. Okay. The hamza and the fa are both 1 count each. The ta is 2 counts because of the mad alif with it. Then we're back to a 1 count noon, which means we have to be careful because we've prolonged the ta. We don't want to prolong the noon. We go straight on to the meme. وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Okay, so you go straight to the meme, then to the noon. The noon is joined with the lam. The lam, we remember we have mentioned many times before, this is a tawassut or a bayniya letter, which means that we stay on it for a little amount of time, not too long. Minal mu'minina. Okay, we say mu. Now hamza here is a shidda letter, and because it has a sukoon, we have to have that sharp cut off. Minal mu'minina, minal mu'minina. If you could try this for me, Sister Salma. Minal mu'minina.
Minal mu'minina.
Yes, let's try it from the top. وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ.
وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ.
You can just sharpen the kasra a little bit when you say wa'i, just for that hamza. But mashallah, the rest was good. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan. We then join, after saying al-mu, we have minina. 1 count mi, 2 count noon, because of the madya with it. Okay. Now the noon at the end is joined with the qaf. We've seen the qaf, we know the makhraj of the qaf, we know the qaf is a heavy letter. The qaf is also a bouncy letter. It has what we call qalqala. It's one of the letters that when it has a sukoon or a jazm on it, we bounce it. Okay, we didn't do that with the lam over here. We said minal. We didn't say minala, minala. This is quite a common mistake that you do have to be careful of. You stay at the makhraj. Minal, minal. But with the qaf, you bounce off the makhraj. So you know how he's talked about the back of the tongue going to the soft palate and your back of the tongue bounces off. So you hit the makhraj, the soft palate at the back, and then you bounce off. So here you would say iqa, iqa. Or if we were continuing, al-mu'minina qatatalu naqa, naqa. So you bounce off the makhraj and you hear that naqa, naqa. It's not naq, and then you stop. Naqa. So keep that, make sure you do that bounce. It also makes it very clear that you, to the listener, that you have pronounced a qaf. Okay, it leaves no room. The qalqala is there so that there is no mistake in what you hear. It makes the Quran very clear so that no letter will be mistaked for another letter. Then we have tatalu. So after a heavy qaf, we want to get to a light 2 tas. Actually, all of them are light after this. We have the lu, which is prolonged for 2 counts. Okay, and the 2 tas are 1 count. So let's try this, Auntie Nasreen. Iqtatalu.
اقتتلوا
Good. Again, iqtatalu.
اقتتلوا
Yes, your qaf can be, when you do your qalqala, when you bounce, even the bounce needs to be heavy. So not iq, I can't copy you, I'm afraid, in this one. Iqa maybe, yeah, iqa. You want it to be heavy, right? Iqtatalu.
اقت اقتتلوا
Yes, you are on the right lines, mashallah. You can, yeah, let's try that one more time. Iqtatalu.
اقتتلوا
Iqa.
اقتتلوا
Jazakumullah khairan. Let's try it from the top, Auntie. وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا.
وإن طا sorry وإن طائفتان من المؤمنين اقتتلوا
It's just that qaf, Auntie. Just that the heaviness in your qalqala of the qaf. من المؤمنين قتتلوا.
من المؤمنين من المؤمنين اقتتلوا.
It's better. It's better. Jazakumullahu khairan. Alhamdulillah. Allah bless you, Auntie. Then we come to the next part. We have aslihu. Now the fa is light. The hamza is light. Here we have the sad. The sad is a rakhawa letter. It's one of the letters that you have to stay on. Okay, it's longer than the lam, for example. When we said minal mu'minin, here is aslihu. We stay on it a little bit longer. Okay, aslihu. If you could try that for me, Sister Salma. فَأَصْلِحُوا.
فأصلحوا.
Jazakumullah khairan. Good, mashallah. Your hu was also good, mashallah. Remember for the ha, we've talked about the makhraj of this is from the middle of the throat. And you hear the breath, you round the lips for the dhamma. فَأَصْلِحُوا. فَأَصْلِحُوا. Hu. Okay, and we prolong it for 2 counts. Good. Then we come to the next part, baynahuma bay. Now here again, we have what we call a lean ya. Okay, we saw this, we've seen this before. I just can't remember how we saw it. Ilayhim. Ilayhim was another one where we saw the ya sakina. The letter before was a lam, but it also had a fatha. So we talked about not saying le. In the same way here, you don't want to be saying be, baynahuma, baynahuma. It would be very incorrect. You want to say ba, bay, baynahuma. If you could try that for me, Auntie.
بينهما.
Good. And the meme, Auntie, at the end can be lighter, and we want to make it 2 counts. So just a little bit more on the meme. Baynahuma.
بينهما.
That's better. Jazakumullahu khairan. Okay, let's try this, Sister Humaira. We'll try the whole thing. The reason I'm going to keep going back is just so that sisters get a chance to practice even at home. So let's try this, Sister Humaira. وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا.
وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا.
What you need to be careful of is 2 things. One is your kasra at the beginning, wa'i. You don't want to say wa'i, wa'i, wa'in. Okay. And the other one was when you say minal, you want to try and keep this noon nice and light. No, it's not this one. Sorry, it's not this one. It's the other one. It's this one over here. This one. Because you're going to get ready to join with a heavy letter, you're starting the heaviness too early. المؤمنين قتتلوا.
المؤمنين اقتتلوا.
That's a little bit better. Jazakumullah khairan. Let's finish this off. فأصلحوا بينهما.
فأصلحوا بينهما.
Okay, يكسر إي. فأصلحوا بينهما.
فأصلحوا بينهما.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Alhamdulillah. Then we come to the next part. We have فَإِن بَغَتْ. Now here, we've seen this small meme before. I just don't think we've seen it with a big noon. We saw it when there was a double, like a fathatain, and then there was a little meme next to it. Or I think there was a dhammatain with a small meme next to it. The noon sakin and the tanween rules kind of come together anyway. So sometimes you'll see it next to where a double, one of the harakas have been taken off and the meme replaced. Sometimes you'll see it on top of a noon. And again, we don't see anything on this noon, so this is actually noon sakin. Whenever we see a noon sakin, there's always something we need to consider. Okay. Here, what we're doing is the small meme is there to remind us that we have the rule of qalb, or iqlab. Okay, so this is the rule of qalb. This is where you change the noon. You don't pronounce the noon, you pronounce a meme in its place. Fa'im. See, I'm not saying fa'in. I'm saying fa'im. You're pronouncing a meme. Fa'im baghat. You have to remember here that the ghain is heavy, but the ba before it is light. It's very easy here to say baghat, because you're getting ready for a heavy rain. You start too early, you end up saying ba. You don't want to say ba, you want to say ba. فإن بغت. Okay. We hold, I forgot to actually to mention, when we are saying the qalb here, you hold the qalb. فإن, just how we held وإن طا, the إخفاء at the top, وإن طائفتان, we hold فإن بغت. Okay. The ta here, this is, I've mentioned the ta, I think I mentioned it once, you may have forgotten. We mentioned how when the ta has a sukoon, it has the quality of shidda and hams, right? So you stop the sound first, so you say baghat, sound is stopped, and then you have hams, so then you hear a little bit of the breath. So you stop the sound first, then you hear a little bit of breath after. And hearing that little bit of breath makes it clear that you got a ta. So again, it removes that the possibility of somebody mishearing or thinking you've said something else, and therefore resulting in, you know, understanding of the Quran being wrong. And this is why, alhamdulillah, you know, the Tajweed is there to keep intact and prevent any kind of mishearing. You know, it makes everything very, very clear. So here we say baghat, that at the end is your hams at the end. Baghat. Okay, let's try that, Auntie. فإن بغت.
فإن بغت.
MashaAllah, jazakallah khairan. I want it to be a little bit lighter at the end. Let's try that one more time. فإن بغت.
فإن بغت.
Yes, jazakallah khairan. Then we have the next word, إحداهما. Now we have the E, don't forget the kasra here of the hamza, E. Remember we've mentioned that how the hamza is a shidda letter. It has this sharpness to it. So we, after saying baghat, we hear a nice clean E. We don't want to make it very soft. It's got to have that E. It's like the sound is stopped, and then your sound starts all of a sudden. So we say فَإِن بَغَتْ إِهْ. Okay. The ha is a rakhawa letter, which means that we stay on it. Just how we stayed on the sad at the top, we stay on the ha. We keep it running. The ha is from the middle of the throat. Ihdahuma. Think about your counts here. So you prolong and you stay on the ha. You then have a 2 count da, because it's got this alif saghira with it. Hu is 1 count, and then back to 2 counts ma again because of the alif with the meme. Okay, so we have this balance where we say 2, then 1, then 2. Ihdahuma. So the time that you spend on saying da is the same amount of time that you spend saying ma at the end. Okay, let's try this, Sister Salma. فَإِن بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا.
فإن بغت إحداهما.
Okay, I think you may have picked up on that. Yes, you knew that yourself. Let's do that again, inshallah, no worries. فَإِن بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا.
فإن بغت إحداهما.
Good, let's try that last word again. إِحْدَاهُمَا.
إحداهما.
Yes, mashallah, good, mashallah. Okay, then we have the next word, على الأخرى. We have the ayn. We know where the ayn is from. It's from the middle of the throat, the same place as this ha that we saw. Then we have the lam joined with another lam. So the one that it joins with, the one over here, is the tawassut lam. Because it has a sukoon or a jazm on it, we stay on it for a little bit. Alal. And remember, there's no lams. We're not going to even think about whether the lam is heavy here, because the only time that a lam can be heavy is in the name of Allah. And even then, it's not every time. So it's only when we see the name of Allah that we have to sort of take a step back and kind of think, well, is this lam heavy or not? In this case, there is, this lam is not in the name of Allah. Therefore, we know that all of these lams are light. Alal ukhra. When you get to this next part, the oo, now again, we're going to circle the lips for the dhamma, oo, but then for the ha, by the time you get to the ha, you should not be rounding your lips anymore. So your lips should then be in the relaxed position, and you should be pronouncing a heavy ha. And this ha that we've talked about the makhraj of the ha is from the top of the throat. If you remember, we said the ones that have the dot at the top are coming from the top of the throat. That was letter ha and letter ghain. So the letter ha comes from the top of the throat, and it's a rakhawa letter that you stay on. Okay, longer than you do the lam. على الأخرى. Try that, Sister Humara.
على الأخرى
We'll try that again. على الأخرى.
على الأخرى.
Yes, your ra is good. I just feel like you're not circling the lips properly, but you're almost, your lips are not relaxed, right? They are a little bit coming together. So it's just keeping the lips, because you don't even want to be saying like this. You don't want to be doing raw, or the bottom lip kind of starting to come out. Keep that relaxed as well. على الأخرى.
على الأخرى.
That's better. جزاكم الله خيرا. Then we have the next word, فَقَاتِلُوا. Fa, nice and light. Qaf, we know, is heavy, and it's 2 counts, right? فَقَا, فَقَا, فَقَاتِلُوا, فَقَاتِلُوا. We have to make sure after saying the heavy qaf that we do pronounce the kasra. We have the e sound, 1 count. فَقَاتِلُوا, tilu. You don't want to be prolonging the ta. It's easy to do after prolonging the qaf to say faqatilu. Be careful not to do that. Faqatilu. And then the lam here, in continuation, actually, we're going straight from this lam to this lam. Again, the name of Allah is not, we cannot see the name of Allah here, so all of these lams will be light. We don't need to think about any heaviness. So we go from the lam to the next. So here we're pronouncing 3 lams. We got the 1 with the dhamma, and then the 2 in the mushaddad. Okay. فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي. Sister Salma?
فقاتلوا التي.
Yes, the qaf had a little wave to it again. So remember, just keeping it nice and straight. فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي.
فقاتلوا التي.
One more time. فَقَاتِلُوا.
فقاتلوا.
It's better. Yes, this last one was the one of the more better ones that you read. Jazakumullah khairan. And at the end of allati, now this ya mud is an easy one to drop. So do be careful and pay particular attention to this one. You want to make sure you hold the t for 2 counts before going on to the next ta. Sometimes because it's almost like similar letters, quite close to each other, you got 2 tas with a ya mud in between. Sometimes it's easy to say allati tab, allati tab. You don't want to say titab, allati tabaghi, allati tabaghi. You want to make that 2 counts before moving on to tab. We then have here the ta is being joined with the ba. Ba again is another one of the qalqala letters, the bouncy letters. So the way that we saw iqatatalu, iqatatalu, that bounce, we do the same with the ba. Tab, tab, tab. And again, if you didn't do the bounce and just said tab, tab, again, the listener can, some of you may say, oh yeah, that's definitely a ba. But some of you might say, may think I've said another letter, and if I just say tab. So again, why is the qalqala there? The qalqala is there to make it very clear what letter's being read. Tab. The minute I do the bounce, you know exactly what letter I've read. And this again, coming back to that same thing, that it helps so that people are not mishearing and therefore misunderstanding the Quran's message. Okay. Subhanallah. And then we have tabaghi, tabaghi. After doing the bounce, you smoothly go on to the ghain. So you don't say tabaghi, it's tabaghi, tabaghi, tabaghi. It's fluent. You got the flow going straight to the ghain. And then the ghain has the yamad, again, it's 2 counts. So allati is held for 2 counts. Tabaghi at the end of it is held for 2 counts. And you also see the word hatta is also held for 2 counts. So each of these 3 words, you hold the ending for 2 counts, all of them. So you have that balance. Let's try this, Sister Humara. فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي حَتَّى.
فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى.
Do that one more time. فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي حَتَّى.
فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى.
So with your qaf, again, you're not protruding the lips fully, but it's a little bit, right? فقا فقا قا. It's almost like that. فقا 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 فقا. The lips are relaxed. Again.
فقا
فقاتلوا.
فقاتلوا
Yes.
فقاتلوا
It's a bit better. Try one more time, please.
فقاتلوا
It's still kind of kind of like you're pushing it a little bit, especially the bottom bit. Concentrate on, you've got the makhraj, and then with the front of the mouth, the only thing you want to be doing is opening a little bit downwards. فقاتلوا.
فقاتلوا
Yes, this is better. Jazakumullah khairan. This is much better. Alhamdulillah. Hatta, you'll notice that because the ha is joined to the ta, and the ta, remember we talked about shidda and hams? Well, when you're joining the ta, you do not, again, you'll hear the shidda, so the sound will stop. This is why we say hatta, hatta, the sound stops. But you do not hear the hams. Okay? You don't need the hams here to be pronounced, because when you say ta, which is following on, it's already clear that it's a ta. When you say hatta, you know I've said it ta. There's no mishearing ability, if that makes sense here. Okay, we have for example, before we had fa'im baghat. The only thing we were saying was a ta with a sukoon. We were not pronouncing ta to ti after that. We said baghat. That's all you're going to get for the ta. There's no ta ti tu to make it more clear, right? And that's why we need to make sure the hams is there so that you can hear it. But with the with the mushaddad ta, you will not hear the hams. Okay, you'll only hear the shidda, the stopping of the sound. Hatta, hatta. Okay. Let's move on to the next part. So here we have the word tafi'a, tafi'a. Now here you have the mud, and it has a hamza after it. This is again mud wajib muttasil. It's 4 to 5 counts long again, this mud. Okay, it's a longer mud. And we know it's a longer mud because we can see the longer mud symbol on it. Okay. So here we say tafi'a, tafi'a. Now you notice again the hamza, remember the sharpness, tafi'a, tafi'a. It's nice and sharp at the end. Not, if it was smooth, it would sound like this, which would be wrong. Tafi'a, tafi'a. You see that would be incorrect. You want tafi'a. It's kind of like you stop your voice at the end and start it again just to get that sharpness. Okay. Then we have ila. Now, ila here, we have the mud again. We can see the longer mud symbol on it. So we know this is going to be a longer one. This is mad jaiz munfasil. And again, this is 4 to 5 counts if we're reading in continuation, if we carry on reading on to the next word. For those of you that are already familiar with the madud, of course, we know that if we're stopping on this word, it would become a regular mad tabi'i, and it would be 2 counts. But in continuation, it would be mad jaiz munfasil, 4 to 5 counts long. If that's completely gone over your head, don't worry. That was for the sisters who are already familiar with the rules of the mad rules. Okay, so we have ila amrillah at the end. So let's try first practicing tafi'a ila. So Sister Salma, if you could try this for me, please. Hatta tafi'a ila.
حتى تفيء إلى.
Good, mashallah, good. So you notice because I stopped, I made it a regular mad tabi'i and I only did it for 2 counts. But when I read the next word as well, then I'm going to make it 4 to 5 counts. Then we have the word amrillah. Now here, the meme is again, it's a tawassut letter. It's a bayniya letter. Okay, it's like the lam when it has a sukoon, not too long, not too short. Not too long. We have the ri, then being joined. Now here we do have the lam in the name of Allah. We need to think about whether these lams are going to be heavy or light. Because they have a kasra before them, the lams will be light, just like we have in Bismillah, right? So here we say Amrillah, Amrillah. If you could try that onto your screen.
Amrillah.
Just be careful, Auntie, when you say the hamza at the beginning, you don't want to be saying so amrillah.
Amrillah.
That's better. The ha at the end is a rakhawa letter if you're stopping, and we do want to prolong that ha at the end. Amrillah.
Amrillah.
That's better. Your ha can be a little bit lower, auntie, in the throat, but the timing was better this time. Let's try this bit together. Let's try it with Sister Salma, if you could try this for me. فإن بغت إحداهما على الأخرى فقاتلوا.
فإن بغت إحداهما على الأخرى فقاتلوا.
Just the إحدى again, just from the right makhraj. إحداهما.
إحداهما.
Again, إحداهما.
إحداهما.
And then we have the next part. فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى تفيء إلى. I'm not going to make it. Okay, let's try that again. فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى.
فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى.
حتى تفيء إلى أمر الله.
حتى تفيء إلى أمر الله.
Good. The ha can be a little bit lower. أمر الله.
أمر الله.
Yes, this is much better. Jazakumullahu khairan. Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu fiki. Then we come to the next part of this ayah. فَإِن فَاءَتْ. Now here we have the noon sakin followed by fa. I think we may have had an example of this before. Yes, in ayah number 6, we had the word بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. It was a noon sakin followed by a fa. So we see we are seeing the same rule again. So this is again إخفاء حقيقي. And again, this time it's a light gunna because the fa is a light letter. فَإِن فَا. So remember we said, don't go to the makhraj of the noon, get ready for the fa. But as you're close to the fa, you shouldn't be at fa. So in other words, your bottom lip shouldn't be touching the teeth whilst you're doing the gunna. Whilst you're saying فَإِن, that part, your lips should be close to the teeth in preparation for the fa, but you're not pressing on it yet. Okay, you only press on it when you start saying fa'at. With the fa, we have the mad alif. Again, we can see the symbol of a longer mad here. This is again mad wajib muttasil, and it's going to be 4 or 5 counts long. We have fa'at. So fa, you pronounce the mad. You then have that sharpness of the hamza. Remember, you stop the sound, can start it again. You get to the ta, and again we hear the shidda and the hums of the ta. Stop the sound first, then hear the breath. فَإِن فَاءَتْ. Auntie Nasreen?
فَإِن فَاءَتْ.
MashaAllah, good. Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu fiki. Then we have فَأَصْلِحُوا. We've seen this word before. Yes, we had فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا in the previous slide as well. So it's the same word. So I'm not gonna. I'm just going to say it, inshallah. I'm not going to do the breakdown of that one. Then we have the word baynahuma. Again, this one we have also seen. We mentioned about the madleen. So remember, we want bay, not bay, and the meme is 2 counts at the end. So let's try it up until here. Sister Humaira, if you'd like to try this with me, please. فَإِن فَاءَتْ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا.
فَإِن فَاءَتْ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Then we have the word bil-adli. The B, make sure you get the sharpness of the E. B, not B, not bil. B, bil. Move from the ba to the lam. The lam again, remember, is tawassut. Not too long, not too short. Bil. Then we have ayn joined with the dal. And the dal, again, we've seen is a qalqala letter. It's the bouncy one. So we say bil-adl. you bounce off the articulation point, and then you very fluently and very smoothly go onto the lam. Bil-adli, bil-adli. You could try that, Auntie?
بالعدل
MashaAllah, good. Again, bil-adli.
بالعدل
Jazakumullahu khairan. Then we have the next word, وَأَقْسِطُوا. We have wa, nice and light. The hamza is joined to the qaf. Again, we're seeing qaf again. And remember, we said this is your bouncy letter, qalqala. وَأَقْسِطُوا. After bouncing the qaf and pronouncing it heavy, we need to make sure we get the kasra right. So we don't say وَأَقْسِ. It's very easy to do. وَأَقْسِ, not وَأَقْسِ. وَأَقْسِ. وَأَقْسِطُوا. وَأَقْسِطُوا. Now we're seeing the ta again, and we've already talked about the makhraj of the ta. Remember, you need to think about where is the tip of the tongue going? It's behind the upper two incisors. The back of the tongue needs to come up and push a bit back. And where are you trying to send the sound of your voice? Which direction is it going in the mouth? And this is the one which is a bit more vertical, where you're going, the middle of the upper palate. You're trying to go towards the middle of the upper palate. Okay, so it's a little bit more vertical in terms of the direction of the sound in your mouth. Okay, so let's try this, Auntie. وَأَقْسِطُوا.
وأقسطوا
Yes, the to isn't too bad. The qaf, Auntie, just remembering what we said about even the qalqala part, the bouncy part is heavy too. وَأَقْسِطُوا.
وأقسطوا
Not bad, not bad. Very well done. MashaAllah. Good. Alhamdulillah. Sister Salma, if you'd like to join me for the whole ayah, please. فَإِن فَاءَتْ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا.
فإن فاءت فأصلحوا بينهما.
So just the this part
Sort.
here when you say فَأَصْ, yes. فَأَصْلِحُوا.
فأصلحوا.
That's better. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا.
فأصلحوا بينهما.
Yes, and then let's finish the remaining part off. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا بِالْعَدْلِ وَأَقْسِطُوا.
فأصلحوا بينهما بالعدل وأقسطوا.
Yes, with the dal here in بالعدل, the dal is a shidda letter, so I want to put a bit more strength into it, right? بالعدل وأقسطوا.
بالعدل وأقسطوا.
That's better. Jazakumullah khairan. Allah bless you. And then we come to the very last part. Inna Allah. Now we have a noon mushaddad, which we've seen before. Noon mushaddad, remember we say is akmal gunna, or it is it has a long gunna. In that part you hold. Inna, and then the na is only one count at the end. Inna. Okay. After you've prolonged the gunna and you've pronounced the na, you're then joining with the name of Allah. Remember, with the name of Allah, we need to think about, are the lambs heavy or are the lambs light? In this case, because they are preceded by fatha, we know that the lambs are going to be heavy. But the easy mistake to make is to make the noon heavy and start the heaviness too early and make the noon and say inna, right? You don't want to say inna, Allah, inna Allah. And then when you get to this ha at the end, you got to be careful to make it light. You need to make it light. It's very easy to make it heavy. I'm saying whenever you have a heavy letter and sandwiched between two light letters, it's very easy to make either the letter before it or either the letter after it heavy too. So you need to be careful of what's around that heavy letter and make sure if they are light letters, they are both light. So here we say Inna Allah, ha, not ha. Okay, Inna Allah. On to the screen.
إن الله.
Yes, that's better, alhamdulillah. The other thing I want you to think about here, Auntie, is when you're joining with your lam, you join with the lam, but then you kind of stop. So you kind of say, Inna Allah, right? Something like this. So the lam is tawassut. Keep it going for a little bit, not too long. Inna innal, innal, and then don't stop your voice and keep going. Innallaha.
Innallaha.
One more time. Innallaha.
Innallaha.
Better, better. Okay, alhamdulillah. It needs a little bit of you need to get comfortable with it, auntie, a little bit more I know you're having to really concentrate and really focus at the moment. So inshallah, the more you keep practicing, inshallah, it will become easier and it will polish up, inshallah. Okay, then we have the word yuhibbul muqsitin. Now we have the you, nice and now here we have to be careful of, it's very a common mistake here is to say yo. Yuhibbu. Okay, you don't want to say yo, you want to say you. Yuhibbu. So what you find is when you say you in isolation, you feel like you're pushing the sound out. You circle the lips, you're pushing outwards, going you. So often what happens is when people put that into a word, they stop doing that. They stop going you and finishing it, and they just say yohib, yohib, yohib. They cut the ya, they don't give it that full attention, and they don't push out and let the sound come out first, and they kind of moving on to the next letter. So finish the you, finish it properly before going onto the ha. Yuhibbu, yuhibbu. The ba is then joined with the before I go on to that, when you are joining the ha to the ba, when you say yuhibbu, the ba is another shidda letter. It's one where the sound stops. Okay, so here again you'll notice that the sound doesn't run. The sound actually does stop. You say yuhib, and then you say boo. The sound kind of stops in the middle. That's the shidda quality, and that's correct. That's what you should be hearing. Okay, so we have here yuhibbul. Then you say the ba, with the dhamma. Yuhib, stop the sound. Then say boo. Yuhibbul muqsitin. Let's try that, Auntie Nasreen. Let's just try the word yuhibbu. Yuhibbu.
Yuhibbu.
Good. I like your ba, mashallah. Very nice. Yuhibbu.
Yuhibbu.
That's good, mashallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Then the ba is joined with the lam. Again, a letter which we've talked about. Stay on it for a bit. Then we have the meme also joined to the qaf. So we've got quite a bit of joining here. The ha being joined to the ba, and then the ba being joined with the lam, and then the lam, and then the meme being joined with the qaf. Here with the qaf again, it's heavy. We know that already. We also know it's qalqala. So as you can see, when letters have certain qualities or certain characteristics, whenever they have a sukoon or a jazm on them, those qualities will always have to be there. There's never a time, if that letter is sakin, if it has a sukoon or a jazm on it, there's never a time where you won't add those qualities. These are qualities that we are consistent in. Every time when we see that letter with a sukoon or a jazm, we pronounce it in that way. Okay, so here we will bounce again. Al-muqa, al-muqa. Again, the qalqala is heavy too. The bounce is heavy. Al-muqa, al-muqsitin. Here, be careful. You want the kasra, the e in your c, and you want both of these to be e sounds. Al-muqsitin. And then when you stop on the noon at the end, it has a sukoon. It is tawassut. We stay on it for a little bit, just like we do with the lam. Okay, let's try this, Auntie. Yuhibbul muqsitin.
Yuhibbul muqsitin.
Nice, mashallah. Let's try again. Yuhibbul muqsitin.
Yuhibbul muqsitin.
Jazakumullahu khairan. And let's try the whole thing, Auntie. Inna Allaha yuhibbul muqsitin.
Inna Allaha yuhibbul muqsitin.
You just lost the qaf a little bit there, Auntie, and the in can be held a little bit longer. Inna Allaha yuhibbul muqsitin.
Inna Allaha yuhibbul muqsitin.
Yes, that qaf was better. Well done. Jazakumullahu khairan. Okay, alhamdulillah, that brings us to the end. Let's go back to the top, inshallah. Actually, let me clear all of that. Okay, Sister Mary, if you'd like to join me for this part. وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا
فإن طائفتان من المؤمنين اقتتلوا
Don't forget your 2 counts for your knee. المؤمن من المؤمنين اقتتلوا فأصلحوا
من المؤمنين اقتتلوا فأصلحوا
فأصلحوا بينهما
فأصلحوا بينهما
فإن بغت إحداهما على الأخرى
فإن بغت إحداهما على الأخرى فقاتلوا.
So what you did in this ayah is after the rahawa letters that was sakin, right? So after this ha here and the lam in alal, you kind of paused. So it was ihdahuma, it was alal ukhra. Remember, we want to keep the flow going. Okay, we'll do that again. فَإِن بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا عَلَى الْأُخْرَى فَقَاتِلُوا
فإن بغت إحداهما على الأخرى
فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى When you say the ghain, we for those of you that know about levels of heaviness, the ghain here, because it is maksur, it has a kasra or a zero on it. It's not. It doesn't have to be too heavy. It's one of the lowest levels of heaviness. For Ibn Tahan, it's level 3, and for Imam Ibn al-Jazari, his opinion is that it's level 5. So for both, it's low. So tabaghi, this is too much. Tabaghi, it's just what comes naturally. تبغي فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى تفيء إلى أمر الله And then we have, just clear that. فإن فاءت فأصلحوا بينهما بالعدل وأقسطوا
فإن فاءت فأصلحوا بينهما بالعدل وأقسطوا.
Okay, so your qaf, the qalqala can be heavier. فأصله, again, we're seeing a pattern now. Rakhawa letters, when they have a sakin, you seem to have a tendency of breaking after it. Okay, so stay on the sad, smoothly onto the lam. فإن فاءت فأصلحوا بينهما
فإن فاءت فأصلحوا بينهما بالعدل وأقسطوا. وأقسطوا.
Better. إن الله يحب المقسطين.
إن الله يحب المقسطين.
Again with the qaf, you can have you can be heavier with your the qalqala here. إن الله يحب المقسطين.
إن الله يحب المقسطين.
Yes, with the yeah, I didn't hear the noon at the end. Yeah, so just the tawassut of the noon. We'll do it again, don't worry. Then the tawassut of the noon, and with the teen, you have to be careful with the ta. Whenever we have the letter ta, and this is for everybody at home, a very common mistake with the letter ta is we want to bring our lips together. So we go ta, right? Ta, tu, طو, I mean, طو, you're going to be around the lips anyway. But for ta and ti, most people would say ta, ti, ti, ti. You see how I might be over exaggerating it just to make a point of it. But the lips kind of come together. For some people, it's a little bit. For some, it's a lot. If you do it a lot, you end up getting like a wavy sound in it. So you'll hear it like wa, wa. See this wa sound in there? It shouldn't really be there. Same with when you say oi, oi, again, you're hearing a wa sound in there. You don't want to be hearing that. That happens because the lips are coming together. Now, with the ta and the ti, with the fatha, the zabar, or the kasra, the zir, you don't need to be using the lips. And when we talked about the makhraj of the ta, we talked about the tip of the tongue, where the tip of the tongue is going. There was no lips even mentioned. So actually, whenever we say ta, ti, the lips are relaxed. They do not come together in any way. Ta, ti, ta, ti, ta, ti. It takes a while getting used to this if you're very used to using your lips, but it helps to look in the mirror and see what you're doing, okay, for this one. So ta, your lips, your mouth, your jaw just come straight down. Ta, 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 ti, ta, ti. Let's try this again, Sister Humera. إن الله يحب المقسطين.
إن الله يحب المقسطين.
Just a kasra. المقسطين.
المقسطين.
Yeah, there's quite a bit for you to think about there, isn't there? It's easy sometimes when you focus on one thing, another thing goes. When you focus on that, then the previous thing will go. What I want you to do is take it slowly. So I'm going to mark it so you know the qaf, heavy. The sin, I'm going to circle. And then this one, no lips. And then the noon, of course, let's just star it. I'm saying it slowly. المقسطين.
المقسطين.
Yes, the qaf, the qalqala, just the heaviness of the qalqala. المقسطين.
المقسطين.
This is better, but you just use a bit of your lips for the ta, right? We'll do it one more time. المقسطين.
المقسطين.
You felt it. You felt it. Inshallah, just keep working on it. Inshallah, just keep working on it. Inshallah, when you have a lot to think about, it's very easy, and then it's just a matter of saying it very slowly and just keep repeating. And it just requires quite a lot of focus, because it's like as you move from one letter to the next, you have to keep reminding yourself, oh, and this, oh yeah, and this, and this. So just keep practicing, inshallah. You know what you're doing. It's just putting it all together, inshallah. All right, jazakumullahu khairan, everybody. Inshallah, I hope tomorrow, inshallah, let's make dua that Sister Zuleika, may Allah give her complete recovery with no hint or no trace of the illness remains. We know that Allah is Ash-Shafi. So we make dua that she makes a full recovery and that she can join us tomorrow, inshallah, for a full session, inshallah, of tafsir. She'll be doing the tafsir of this whole ayah, inshallah. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you're all looking forward to it as well, inshallah. May Allah make it of something of benefit for us, and may Allah accept it from us. So inshallah, I will see you tomorrow. اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Take care, everyone. السلام عليكم.